Jury deliberations resumed this morning in the murder trial of federal agent Christopher Deedy. Jurors began deliberating after Thursday's closing arguments. Attorneys on both sides focused on who was responsible for the first sparks before the fist started to fly. Deedy is accused of shooting and killing Colin Elderts in a Waikiki McDonald's. Jurors have two choices: convict Deedy of second-degree murder or set him free. Joining us this morning is former city prosecutor and former Honolulu Mayor Peter Carlisle with his take on the Deedy trial. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us.
Aloha. It's nice to be here bright and early.
Great to see you. So, of course, I have to ask you, what is your prediction? Do you think that they'll find him guilty of second-degree murder, or do you think he's going to be walking out?
I have never once in my lifetime predicted what a jury will do, but I would say that they have to make absolutely sure from the prosecution side that they've got the advantage throughout all of the action that occurred to make sure that they can do this without the manslaughter as a lesser. So it has to be, it's all in for both of these people. So it's all in for the defense. It's nothing or it's murder in the second degree.
And that's a very high standard. Why do you think prosecutors took that?
I would say that they assessed the case, and they assessed it. It certainly was done intentionally. I would say that they assessed the case and came up with the conclusion that their evidence was strong enough from start to finish to be able to pursue and actively succeed in getting that particular conviction.
There are several key moments of this trial. What do you think has been the key moment for you as you've watched the proceedings?
Well, as I'm looking at it, it seems to me that the key elements for the defense essentially has to do with the escalation of the violence throughout the process. So it's not one continuous event. It's something that can be segmented by the way that the defendant behaves. So when he pulls out his charge in rage towards him, that escalates everything, because police officers frequently get killed by their own guns. On the other hand, it seems to me that the prosecution's strongest evidence has to do with the intoxication of the defendant. It's fairly clear after you listen to what the police officers were saying, as well as the conduct of his friend, that these guys had a lot of alcohol in their system. So I think those are two factors that are going to play have a major impact on what the jury sees in terms of the event itself.
One of the things that the defense has said is that Deedy did pull out his badge and say that he was a law enforcement officer. So how important is that? Because obviously he's not just an everyday person getting into a fight with someone else.
He's obviously now used, and that helps him in one of his multiple of defenses. You've got defense of self, you've got defense of other, and then you've got privileges that law enforcement officers have where they're not allowed to retreat from a situation. So him doing that was obviously something that was helps him in terms of his arguments that he was there now to de-escalate this aggressive behavior, and now suddenly it escalated to the point where he had to defend himself and has a law enforcement privilege for doing so.
You know, people are watching this trial very closely. It's been on air, it's been on the internet. What do you think people should take away from this as we watch the jurors go into deliberation?
Let me tell you what I'd like to see in the long run, and this is a big hope. I don't think anybody who has an ounce of alcohol in their system should have a loaded gun in their hand. And I would be very happy to see, and I think you could find a lot of people in the National Rifle Association who would agree with that. I would like to see a change of the law that sits there and says, okay, if you have even 0.01 alcohol and you've got a loaded gun in your hand, you've committed a crime. Now, that would ultimately, how that would affect this, probably not a great deal. But the point of the matter is, we see over and over again people with some degree of alcohol in their system with guns in their hands that are loaded. And that, to my mind, is an untenable and intolerable situation.
Well, Peter Carlisle, I know that you've prosecuted many high-profile crimes here in the island, so it's so good.
One or two.
Just a few. It's so good to get your perspective this morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Aloha.
Aloha to you.
And good luck with your future endeavors.
Thank you. I appreciate it.